All right, so as we said, this learning lab is all about becoming a historian and understanding that historical context is incredibly important to us, then interpreting our own thoughts and ideas about what happened. So the first slide is simply of a picture. You don't have to like take any physical notes, we don't have to turn anything, but I want you to think about it. And then, hold on to your answer because as it says, we're gonna take the next steps into how we can then access, what was going on during this time period to understand why this photo is taken, what is happening in this photo, and like, what's going on. Why is it why are these people doing what they're doing? Um, as a ID description, it is a black and white photo, which means it was taken way before, like probably 19th century or like maybe early, with a line of people traveling out of a town in wagons. Like when I say wagons, I'm saying Oregon Trail wagons. Um, these people are not dressed too sharply. They are then being escorted by a policeman on a motorcycle. So automobiles do exist at this time. So that should give you some context of what time period it possibly could be. It is a mixture of different people. There I think are two black men in this photo, one white woman that you see. And I think that's pretty much it that can be described. So here we go. So I say this word a lot, and I say historical context so loosey-goosey, but what is it? Context is the background information that informs a deeper understanding of a historical individual, group, or event. So we discussed about in part one. It just allows us to, understand more, and not only understand, but in a way empathize more, with the people who go through these historical events. Why is it important? Historical context is important because it allows historians to better understand history in the ways of a historical group or individual understood the world around them. Again, we look at this photo and we can't really do much on our own, which then leads us to then say what date did this happen? And then not only that, then continuing, you say, well, what was going on during this date? What were people thinking? So you have to think. And then this goes into what I was talking about. The elements that we can then take of historical context is what I was kind of talking about. Is we look at a photo and we need to understand these specific things of politics, government, and law. Like, were there any laws being passed during this time? Were there any laws being fought for? Were there laws being fought against? Economics is a big one. Is a huge one. Like, what was the economy like? Was it struggling? Was it thriving? You can really tell a lot of history by that fact alone. I think one of my favorite classes was my film as a social history, and we were watching movies, and one of the main factor was people are going through the Great Depression, and some of these movies showed people, saving their money and not being not embracing consumerism because people didn't have money at that time that the movie was released for the Great Depression, and it's so interesting. Sociocultural, which we will get into. Every one of these has their own slide, and I would like to save that one, for its own. Religion, big one. What religions were really booming? What religions were being oppressed? Stuff like that. Science and technology, as I said, like, it is important to understand that like automobiles existed, and then you wonder why. Like, why do these people have carts instead of wagons? Community histories, where are we? What city are we in? That explains a lot, because then we can go into the history of that city, of that town, and then understand better. Health, medicine, and disease. Were people healthy during this time? Was, like the Dust Bowl hurt millions of people out west. Were people getting sick? Environmental, as I said, Dust Bowl is a good example of, what was the environment like? Again, and I think that also ties into community histories of where are they? Why are they, military, which I think relates to, like, if there's a war going on. Again, what year is this? Are we in the middle of a war? Did we just finish a war? And then they all connect. It's so amazing once you think about it. And then last but not least is key events in history. Like what happened recently that would cause something like this to happen, you know? And all of these historians take into account. Absolutely. Okay. Where we left off was, oh geez.